Are you an acid burn victim? Imagine hearing someone ask you that, because I can. Those words had the power to either make me or break me. Hi everybody, my name is Sonya. I'm a marketer, model, and a founder of the Vitiligo Association Malaysia. So just to give you guys a little insight, and because I'm sure you're wondering, I have a skin condition known as vitiligo. Okay. So my vitiligo started at the age of 8 years old, as you can see. This is a photo that, when I was younger, I was very ashamed of it because you can clearly see the sadness in my face and in my eyes, right? And growing up as someone who looked very different from everyone else around me was definitely hard. I was bullied, I was called names. I often got asked questions like, did your parents spill hot oil on you? Are you an acid burn victim? You're a Dalmatian? You're a cow? These are some of the many words that I heard while I was growing up. Now this used to make me feel really small and insecure. In fact, I hated my skin. I hated the way I looked. I used to wake up every morning and wish that I was completely normal like all my peers around me. I wish that I didn't have a skin condition. So for the longest time, I allowed my insecurities to consume me. This is me in high school. This is also a photo that I used to be so ashamed of, okay? I would not want anyone to see this photo because I just never liked the way I look. I was, like I said, I was very insecure. I was already going through so much changes as a woman in my teen years. And on top of that, I had to deal with the changes that was constantly coming in regards to my skin. Now, a little fun fact about my skin, it is never the same. It constantly changes. It could be in a week, it could be in a month, it could be in a year, but you will never see me look the same because it is just always changing. Now, for the longest time, I allowed my sadness and my insecurities to consume me. I said no to countless opportunities, whether it was hanging out with friends, going to the mall, going for parties. I just always said no because I felt very insecure in myself. I did not want people to see me. I did not like the way I looked. So much so that I used to wear long sleeves and jeans just to cover my skin, just so that I would not have to face the stares and comments that I would receive from society. A simple thing as going to the mall. Sounds fun, doesn't it? Every teenager likes going to the mall with their friends. But imagine walking in a mall and having people constantly staring at you, or people coming up to you and saying things about your skin, or making just any general comments. It made me feel sad, it made me feel insecure, and it made me feel insignificant. However, honestly, as I was growing older and trying my best to learn how to love myself better, it came to a point where I realized, you know what? For the longest time, I was allowing everybody else's thoughts and opinions of me to consume me. I allowed all the negative comments to consume me. I allowed my negative thoughts to consume me. And that stopped me from doing so many things that I wished I would have done when I was younger. So, fashion and modeling. You're wondering how I got into it. Well, fashion was always something that I've been interested in since I was a young girl. I used to look through magazines and, I would see all these beautiful models in these magazines who had perfect hair, perfect skin, perfect teeth. Everything about them was just perfect, right? But what made me feel sad was that not once did I see anyone who looked like me or anyone who looked different featured in those magazines. So you might think, it's just a magazine, but I want you to think about this. I'm sure all of you at some point of your life, you've gone through magazines and you've read newspapers, and then you see all these models, be it male or female, and I'm sure that at one point in your life, you would have looked at them and felt like, oh, this person is so perfect. Why can't I look like that? Why don't I look like that? Why am I short? Why am I skinny? Why am I fat? Why do I not have nice hair? These are just some of the many thoughts that I'm positive that at least one of you in here has had at some point in your life, right? So modeling. when I was younger, I used to have people tell me that, hey Sonia, you have the height and the body of a model, but not necessarily the skin of one, because I obviously did not look like what you would see in traditional magazines, right? Of what traditional models look like. And I always felt like I didn't have that opportunity to pursue that because of how I looked. Despite me wanting to try modeling for the longest time, despite my interest in fashion, I never really pursued the modeling side of it because I felt like, I did not belong. This is not what I look like. I don't look like the other models in the magazines. I don't belong. But like I said, for the longest time, I spent my time feeling really sorry for myself. However, that few words that I mentioned earlier, are you an acid burn victim? These few words changed my life because I realized that, I'm so tired of having people ask me these kind of questions. I'm so tired of people making assumptions about what I have. And I'm so tired of just feeling really sorry for myself. So I woke up one day and I said, you know what? I am going to do what makes me happy. I'm going to do whatever it takes to pursue my goals and my ambitions. Fast forward a few years later, I pursued my degree in fashion and business marketing. And one day when the opportunity presented itself for me to do modeling, I took it. Now it obviously isn't as easy as it sounds. Just to tell you guys something that not many people know of, my very first shoot that I did, when I showed up at that studio, I remember very vividly how I felt being there. I went into the bathroom and I was crying. I cried because I felt like I didn't belong. I cried because I was worried about how people would react to seeing my photos. Social media is a double-edged sword. You either have the good side of it and use it positively, or the bad side of it where it's used negatively. So when I did that shoot, I told myself, you know what? I'm doing this. I'm not only doing this for me, but I'm doing this for all the other people out there who look different. Just shortly after my first shoot, I was presented with the opportunity to be the very first model with vitiligo to walk in KL Fashion Week in 2018. Now this was a big step for me and for my country because in the entire history of KL Fashion Week, nobody with vitiligo has ever been presented with the opportunity to walk on that runway. So when the opportunity came up, I said yes, and I did it. Even then, when I was backstage, I was still filled with a lot of insecurities because I was surrounded by all these other models who were gorgeous, of course, and I just naturally, we have that tendency to feel insecure and feel like we're not good enough or feel like we don't belong. But I still did it anyways. I walked that runway, and as I stepped on that runway, I remembered feeling so liberated. I felt like finally I did what I wanted to do. I did what this version of Sonya has always wanted to do. I started doing even more modeling. I worked with several magazines on ads and campaigns. But one thing I would like to leave you with is, despite seeing all these pretty pictures that you see online, and despite the fact that you get to work with big magazines and publications, for me personally, one thing I always made sure of was whether or not the people I was working with was using me as a marketing gimmick, or because they genuinely believed in the cause that I was trying to create, or if they genuinely believed in the message that I was trying to send. So just to give you guys a little insight, there was once when I came across an ad that was done by a brand, okay? And what this brand had done is that they had taken a model with even skin tone, and they painted her to look like she had vitiligo. Shocking, isn't it? So imagine how I felt when I saw this ad running in our local MRT stations, running on social media, on billboards. I felt a deep feeling of sadness. I felt so sad because I felt like, people are misusing the message of having being different, having different skin tones, right? This company completely misused that. They took someone who had even skin tone, painted her to look like she had vitiligo, and to top it all off, they painted her patterns exactly like a well-known model in the US known as Winnie Harlow. So my immediate thought was, imagine other people with vitiligo, or any skin condition for that matter, walking around and seeing these ads. And if they knew who that model actually was, they would know that she does not have a skin condition. She does not have vitiligo. And it made me feel really sad because I thought to myself, why couldn't the company just find someone who has vitiligo? If they really wanted, they could find it. Despite us being 1% of the world's population, there's quite a lot of us here in Malaysia. So why didn't they do that? See, with media and in the beauty industry, it's really a double-edged sword. It's very tricky. For me personally, I do not do modeling for the fame or the fortune, none of that. In fact, the whole reason I went into it and the whole reason I started doing modeling is because I realized that people needed to see more regular, everyday people in these magazines, in ads. People needed to be given the opportunity to be featured in big campaigns, even though they don't look like everyone else around them. And most importantly, I started doing modeling because I wanted to change the narrative of what diversity and inclusivity is here in Malaysia. So I did that. And I've been doing modeling for a while now. I started in 2018, and it's been honestly quite a whirlwind of a journey. Like I said, I've been so fortunate that I've met a lot of great people, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that you do not see. Like I mentioned earlier, for me personally, whenever I choose to work with a brand, regardless of how much money that they may throw in my face, if I feel like the brand is not aligning with who I am and the message that I'm trying to send and my purpose, I have no qualms about saying no to them. Because for me, my integrity and my values matters more than money and everything else. So I've said no to countless brands, regardless of how big of a brand they are, because I felt like they were only using me as a means to be trending, to do what's trending right now, which is diversity and inclusivity. But that's not right. Diversity and inclusivity is something that you should embody in your everyday life. It's not something that you just hop on and hop off just because it's trending. So because of the influence that I tried to make in the modeling industry, I still realized that I wasn't doing enough. I've still had people coming up to me and asking me questions like, what's wrong with your skin? What happened to you? I even had countless DMs from people all over Malaysia who had skin conditions, and they would message me and tell me things like, hey Sonya, I really look up to you because you are embracing your skin exactly the way it is. You're embracing yourself for the way you were made. But I'm still struggling because I can't even walk out of my house in a pair of shorts or skirts without feeling insecure. I can't walk out without having people staring at me, making comments about me. And these messages used to hurt me so much because I felt so much pain for these people, not only because I knew what they were going through, but because I knew that I needed to do more. I needed to do more for so many people in our country especially. So that motivated me to start my very own association. These are a group of people who have vitiligo, some of them have been hiding for the longest time in their life, and I scouted through Malaysia to find them. I started my association and I started doing campaigns because I wanted people to understand that there is so much more beyond our skin. I needed to create that awareness because the next time someone comes up to someone who looks different, I want them to approach them kindly. not make negative comments, not make rude comments, not make assumptions, but rather treat them with kindness. Now, one thing I would like to leave you all with is that you are not the clothes you wear, or the cars you drive, or how much money you make. You can be the richest person in the world, but what matters most is who you are on the inside. What are you doing with your life to create a positive change in your own personal life and in your surroundings? Remember, change is the only thing that's constant. Like how my skin constantly changes, I embrace it day to day, but I also remind myself that, Sonya, you are put on this earth for a reason. You are here for a purpose. Everybody is made a certain way for a reason. You're all made uniquely for a reason. That does not make you any less worth it. That does not make you any less beautiful. And that does not mean that you deserve any less either. In fact, the most important thing for you to always remember is that you are your own biggest critic. It's always you against you. Learn to be kinder to yourself. Learn to love yourself. And most importantly, remember that it's not about who you are on the outside or how you look, but rather who you are on the inside and what your soul and heart is able to bring to people. Thank you.